Supernatural Season 9 finale. Do you believe in miracles? Very interesting season finale. They did something that I didn't expect, and that was, of course, what they ended with Dean turning into a demon at the end. I thought that was a great way to end the season finale. It was cool to see the story actually wrap up. It didn't wrap up like I thought it would. I figured everything would kind of just go the way it typically does, which is, they have their little issues here and there. The plan slumps at a couple of moments and then it picks back up and everybody's fine. But in this episode, we had two deaths, one of which was actually permanent. And that was very interesting. And we kind of get a hint towards a third death, which would be Cass with the Grace leaving his body, which, unless I missed that this entire season, they never said that until this episode. So it has me really curious as to what's going to happen to Cass in the next season as well, and how come everything isn't just solved now that they get to, I guess, go back up to heaven. Now they kind of control the door. They know how to get to heaven, and I know they were stripped of their wings. I don't know how they would really get it back, and if the answer was on the angel tablet, they'd have to find a new prophet to take care of that. But it was a great episode. It was really interesting to see Metatron kind of implementing his final plan of action, which was to, of course, get all humans on his side. And he goes and saves the woman, and that was an interesting scene too. When she got hit by the car, that's not what I was expecting at all. But he goes in, he saves her, he changes his name to this. Just he's an average Joe, kind of like he looks like he's homeless and stuff. And it was a typical ploy that he played on all the angels already, and he just had to do it to the humans too. And it was interesting to have him in his final moments where he was ultimately just telling a story. He wants to be God because he wants to give humans what they really believe in with all their prayers and stuff like that. He wants to actually deliver on that, but he really only wants to deliver on that because he wants to be in that pristine position. And whenever someone points it out, he's like, so what? Who cares if I had to kill off a ton of angels to get to this point, because I don't really care about any of the angels. And it was just interesting, and it was cool to see Cass get a one up on him in the end scene. I thought that before Cass was gonna get stabbed, he'd actually kind of break out of the chains, and he would have taken Gadriel's grace. It would have been like they didn't show the scene, but he actually took his grace with a little bit was left, so he had enough power to take Metatron on, and I thought he would reverse it on him and surprise him and kill him. But he gets everyone on his side, and it was a great way to do it, because I guess if he killed Metatron, they still just would have been against him. So it was a great way for that to end. And of course, he let Metatron live, and that could be a way to help him get everyone's grace back. I don't know if Metatron had any extra plans outside of just being the new god, but I'm very curious to see what they do with Cass and the whole issue of him possibly dying if he doesn't get his grace back. So we'll have to wait, of course, until fall to see that. But the biggest thing that happened in this episode that I didn't expect was Dean dying. And of course, when he was fighting against Metatron, I thought it was going to be real simple. Once again, everything was going to work. And I thought he was going to get up and he was going to kill Metatron. And even if he hadn't killed him, I wouldn't have thought Metatron would have just stabbed him. But the way they did it was really well done, because he's already really beat up. And then he gets the blade, and it seems like he's going to stand up. I thought he was kind of just going to heal really fast and then just be able to charge him. And right when he's standing up, he just gets stabbed in the heart. And honestly, with this show being this show, they've died multiple times, Sam and Dean equally. And I wasn't worried. The first thing I thought, honestly, was there's no problem. They're so buddy-buddy with Crowley this season, helping him win over with Abaddon. He doesn't really owe them, but he would have some, sarcastic reason to bring him back and say it so that they could keep fighting or something. And I thought when Dean goes to hell, Crowley's just going to go on down. He's going to say, hey, you've helped me out, so I'm going to help you out. Here's your life back. And that's all there would be to it, because of course I doubt Dean would end up going to heaven. I don't know with this show, who knows where they'd end up, but I figured that's what was going to happen. He would die, Crowley would come in, bring him right back to life. No big deal, no problems. But it was a much better ending. And when Crowley showed up in the room, I already knew that he was. I first, of course, thought he was just gonna bring him back, and then he started talking, and it was like, okay, he's gonna come back to life. And then he kept talking for a real long time, and I thought he's gonna be a demon. Like, I realized that probably halfway or a little bit before the halfway point in Crowley's speech, and it was really interesting, and it was really obvious when he was at the end of his speech and saying, see what I see and feel what I feel. I knew he was coming back as a demon, and that was just really good. And the first thing that really led to that was early in the episode when uh, Dean actually summoned Crowley, and he mentioned how the reason Kane was able to hold on to all that power was because he was a demon. When I thought of that at the end of this episode, it made me realize that he's going to turn into a demon, and that's how things are going to work, because the blade itself would just make him one. And I can't wait to see what they do in this next season, especially the dynamic between Sam and Dean. How's that going to change? What is Dean going to try to do? Because of course, I think his first instinct is going to be, I have to become human again, which I don't know. That could be fairly simple. They could just make it pretty easy with what they did with Crowley and just do that to Dean. But it's going to be a bit trickier, and it'll probably be due to the fact that he has the mark of Cain, so it won't be as simple as what they did with Crowley, and the blade won't let him go because he's a demon and stuff. But I think with him turning into a demon, we'll get to see him act a lot more normal, so to speak. He'll be less crazed and trying to murder anything and everything in the next season, because he'll have a lot of control over it because he'll be so powerful as a demon. And then he'll be a lot like Kane was in the episode we saw him, where he didn't seem to have any issues, even though of course he didn't actually have the blade, and it was like thrown into the ocean, so who knows how long he wasn't doing that. So he probably didn't have any um, passion to actually start killing anything. So Dean could still be a little crazy when he wakes up as a demon. But I'm incredibly excited to see what they do next season. And I know a lot of people want this show to end because, the season coming up will be the 10th season. But I really don't think they're going to end it in the next season with with the way it ended with Dean being a demon. I think they're just going to carry that out through the whole season. And the side story will probably be the angel stuff again, with Cass also trying to save his own life. And who knows what's going to happen there. That'll merge at some point, I'm sure. But it'll be really interesting. Sam and Dean working together, because I'm sure they're going to have those same episodes where they're sort of one-shot episodes, and they're going to go off and do what they did really early on, where they just go save people. And it's going to be really, really different to see Dean as a demon doing that, because he's going to have a few tricks up his sleeve. I would assume he probably can't do much, but we'll have to wait and see. It could be some weird rules with the Mark of Cain. It's like he can't do all the teleporting, he can't do all the really fancy stuff, but spells are going to work against him, so he won't be able to go into the trunk. That's the simplest thing I can think of. But he won't be able to go into the trunk anymore. He could get caught in demon traps. I guess the entire bunker could just self-destruct with him inside. Who knows what's going to happen there, but they're going to have to work around some stuff, and it's going to really change the show next season, and hopefully it is a really good storyline, because who knows if they're going to bring in an actual villain as the main part of it, or if it's just going to be, of course, them trying to figure out how does Dean save himself and how does Cass save himself as well, because they're both, I'm sure Dean, he'll be fine technically. Of course, he would live forever, but I'm sure he doesn't want to live forever as a demon, and I know Cass doesn't want to die, so it'll be interesting to see how these two survive in their situations, especially Cass, because he could actually die, but it's Cass, so he's not gonna die. And Dean will most likely turn human at some point, but it'll be an interesting season. I personally feel it'll be really interesting, and I think it's a great change for the show. It'll be crazy to see, especially for Dean. I think if Sam became a demon, it would be fairly neutral, especially considering some of the stuff he went through. He was like, he was part demon anyway, so it wouldn't be that big of a deal. He'd be real calm about it. But Dean suddenly turning into a demon, him of all people, who's just gung ho kill demons here and there all the time, except for those really rare circumstances that he still sometimes flips on from time to time when he's mad. Him turning into a demon, that's just gonna be interesting to see. But I thought it was a great season finale. It was good to see Metatron get defeated. Interesting to see Gadriel die off. I would have liked to have seen him in the next season, actually, because I just liked his character. It would have been cool to see him be on the winning side and everyone sort of accept him for who he was, and realizing that even though he wanted to get everyone back into heaven, turning on Metatron was the better choice, and people would have seen that, and he would have been seen as more than what he was, which who was the guy who let the devil basically into the Garden of Eden. But he had to sacrifice himself for the greater good, so he's out. But maybe some of the people from Cass's army will become more prominent characters in the show. He'll have probably the woman who was, I guess, his second in command. She was just in it a lot. She was the featured actress. So maybe she'll be a more prominent character in next season, because they're of course going to have to deal with the angel stuff too. But I enjoyed this season finale. I can't wait to see what they do in season 10. And I don't know how far the show's really going to go. I know, like I said, a lot of people want it to end. I personally don't, because I don't think it sucks. I know everybody hated the Leviathan thing. I thought that was an okay season. It had some great moments, of course. The Bobby stuff was really good. That was probably the best part of that season, because it was just an important character. But I thought this was a great one. Curious to see what they do next season, because this was the one where everything was different, where the angels really weren't the angels, and it, like, everything on the demon side was normal. It was just a huge war going on, so nobody was really wasting their time just like killing random people to do this or that. So the demons were sort of in the background outside of the huge war that they were having. And next season, now that things are done, some of the demons will probably go back to doing what they normally do, because a lot of other demons might still not want to follow Crowley, even though he's so powerful. But have to wait and see. And of course, comment below, let me know what you guys thought of this season finale, what you liked, what you didn't like. How far do you want this show to go? Where do you want it to end? And what do you guys think of Dean becoming a demon? And how do you guys think next season is going to go with him being a demon, as well as Cass trying to save himself, as well as still get the angels settled into their new heaven? Comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.